Welcome to Random Samples, where we dive into the world of science education, featuring conversations with some of our favorite scientists, educators, science teacher educators, and passionate advocates who support the mission of the National Center for Science Education. I'm Amanda Townley, Executive Director here at NCSE. Throughout the year, we've explored the many ways in which science is taught, learned, and championed across the country, while also celebrating those individuals who make it all possible. Each episode of Random Samples is a chance to learn from those who are shaping the future of science and science education. Today I'm joined by Dr. Kristen Ranges, Moat Sea Education Director for the Moat Marine Laboratory and Aquarium in Florida. Moat is an amazing partner of NCSE, and they hosted teachers last April for our My Coast initiative. I'm thrilled to have her here to share about her passion for science and the great work that's being done by Moat scientists and educators. I will also add that Kristen is unique in that she has both a scientific PhD in marine sciences and her law degree in environmental law. So I'm really looking forward to hearing more from her about how she advocates for science education. Kristen, it's great to see you again and have you join us on this edition of Random Samples.
Thank you so much for having me. It's great to speak with you, Amanda.
So you've pursued a very unique path and have both that PhD and a Juris Doctorate. Can you tell us a bit about your journey and how you're using those two different directions to support science education and science?
Yeah, so uh, I first started on this sort of background educational journey of mine in my undergrad when I majored in marine biology, and I picked up a minor in public policy. And that's when I started to get interested in interdisciplinary work and seeing how people that were interested in different areas were sort of working on the same problems. And I wanted to kind of see how we could sort of bridge that gap even further. So after undergrad, even though my focus was in science, I wanted to go to law school and sort of explore that field a little bit more and see what people that were interested in the environment and solving environmental problems, sort of with those tools and from that angle, were passionate about, and sort of what was motivating them the most, and sort of learn from that perspective what was going on. And then while I was there, I really wanted more science. So then I went back into science and got my PhD. Both of those were at the University of Miami, so kind of focusing on that sort of related environment, very tropics related, very South Florida, Florida Gulf Coast areas. Um, so again, that's sort of the environments I was focusing on, but just sort of learning again what people in these spaces were motivated by, what they wanted to learn, how they spoke to each other, even though they were coming from different perspectives and different backgrounds. And so after my educational journey, I realized that education is what I liked the most, is how to get people to talk and how to share the knowledge in ways that sort of cross those boundaries between what was this field, how we spread that message to everybody, how we get all these people talking. So with that, I was brought over to Moat. I was really interested in this project, Moat Sea, the Science Education Aquarium, which was in construction at the time. We actually just opened it last week. We had our grand opening. And so what I do there is I work with our researchers, I work with our educators, and really figure out how to bring our ongoing local science to the public, to students that are interested in not only marine biology, but in engineering, in math, in art, figuring out ways to get everybody involved to reach our overarching goal, which is to make positive environmental change.
What are two lessons you would pass along to other scientists and science lovers when it comes to advocating for science?
I really think just keeping in mind that people in different fields are really working towards the same goals when we're talking about environmental conservation, environmental protection, environmental restoration. We're just using different languages. So, when you're talking about environmental educators versus environmental researchers versus environmental policymakers, again, these are all actors that are trying to achieve the same thing, just using different tools and using different languages. So there's no need to silo them in the way that they are traditionally siloed. I think we need to bring these groups together more. We have conferences for the environmental scientist, we have conferences and meetings for the environmental educators. Let's commingle them more. Let's get the policymakers and those scientists and the educators together in a room together more to figure out how we can, again, like you said, bridge those gaps, get those conversations started. um, Again, we think of these as different fields far and apart, and we don't bring them together enough, especially when we're talking about the educators and the education aspect of it.
You recently hosted our science education and outreach team from NCSE at the Mote Marine Laboratory facility in Summerland Key, Florida. I'm excited to share we had 130 teachers apply for 30 seats in this edition of My Coast, and that those teachers have really shared with us some powerful feedback about their experiences, both with Mote and My Coast. I know you came to visit us there. What can you share about the experience and observations of the event?
Yeah, I mean, that was just the perfect pairing of initiatives and missions between our organizations, and then also how that plays out logistically into what a professional development between our organizations look like. So spending half day learning some really practical and really useful tools for how to teach topics that are not only hard to teach, but that are, or should I say, not only hard to teach for the content that they are, but hard to teach because of the external influences given the place that we're in. Not to put, to find a point on what that means. You know what that means depending on where you are and what struggles you're facing in your district. But spending half the day with that content, but then spending half the day in the science, in the field, brings you back. It reminds you why that first half of the day and why those struggles and why having to have that content in the first place is so important, right? Because when you're young in your career and becoming an educator and you're in your first 101 classes, you think teaching is going to be something different than what it turns out to be. And sometimes you don't realize you need this professional development to teach you how to teach at that far down the line. So you need the content, but then you also need that inspirational piece at the end. So combining the hard work, but then combining the passion is sort of what I think makes the professional developments that we were able to create so inspirational and so effective.
I know that very recently your new aquarium opened in Sarasota, but many people may not realize that Moat has several facilities that all have different focus areas in their research and outreach.
Yeah, so we have a variety of locations, and each location kind of has its own identity in terms of what it focuses on and really what goes on there. So, for example, the location we were in for that professional development event was our research lab down in Summerlin Key. And so that is one of our main coral centers where we do a lot of our coral restoration and research throughout the Florida Keys. We also have a variety of discovery and outreach centers, for example, in Key West. We just opened one in Crane Point. So we have a couple different locations where you can visit us in the Keys to learn about our work. Places like the one in Summerlin Key, our location in Key Largo, you can actually visit and do public programs where you can do some of the coral fragging workshops that we did as part of that professional development event as well, where you actually get to frag some of the corals that are part of our restoration work and actually get hands on with our science. We also have, like we've discussed, Moat C, our science education aquarium, the brand new facility that we've opened in Sarasota. Not only is it an aquarium showcasing some of our resident animals, but we also have 5 workforce development labs on site in that space, which are actual outposts of our research labs. So we have scientists on site conducting research every day that the public is able to view and engage with. And then we also have 3 STEM teaching labs where we are running public programs to educate the public and get them hands on with the science. We also have research laboratories throughout the state as well. So in the Sarasota area, out on City Island by our old aquarium, we have our existing research labs and our animal hospital. We also have our aquaculture park, where we have 3 new seagrass greenhouses. We have our coral gene bank out there. We have our aquaculture where we are raising our fish. So we are doing all types of work all throughout Florida. We also have active research going on internationally with partners worldwide. So Moat is everywhere and ever expanding.
What can scientists and others who love science do to support science education and support research programs such as yours?
Yeah, so visiting our website and sort of exploring all of the opportunities we have to learn about moat science, that can be found at moat.org/educate. We have all of our offerings based on location as well. So whether you're in the Keys, if you're in Sarasota, um, if you're virtual, we have all different options. So um, we have variety of programming for school groups, so your traditional field trips. We have after school programs. If you are an older student interested in internships or volunteer opportunities, you can engage with us that way. If you want to support by other means, we have membership opportunities available, of course, through MoatC. So you can find all of that on our website. Again, there's a variety of ways to support Moat, to engage with Moat, to learn through Moat. We're happy to have all types of learners. We affectionately call our learners K through GWE because it's not just for young students, but it's for adults that want to be involved in marine STEM as well.
Our NCSE team had an incredible time working with the staff at Moat on Summerlin Key, being able to explore the coral nurseries, learning how coral fragging is done to try to protect these resources. It was all really incredible. What can you share that's on the horizon for all of you in the next year?
So, in the next year, I am most looking forward to rolling out all of our new programming that is going to be hosted in MOTC. So, all of our school programs are brand new. They've been created in a tight collaboration with our researchers. So they've helped us develop all of our programming to ensure that it reflects current and accurate science that's coming out of Moat. I'm excited to host these programs in our new spaces. They are dedicated teaching labs meant to deliver these programs. So instead of having sort of these general purpose classrooms, we're really creating this sense of place for our learners. So I'm really excited to just roll these lessons out and actually see learners in this space. You know, we've been prepping for so long. So to really watch people come through and get inspired is really going to be exciting.
If there was one thing that you could fix in the current state of science and science education, what would that be?
Oh, that is a loaded question.
Sorry.
Um, yeah.
So many choices.
How much time do you have? Um, I guess the quickest, not the quickest answer, but I guess it would be the appreciation for your local informal science education spaces and what they can deliver in terms of scientific knowledge. Understanding their independence and their motivations and who's creating the content and why they're creating the content and what's driving it. Um, I think really looking to them and understanding their missions, I think, is a great place to find that reliable science in many cases. And so, thinking of them as your source, especially for local science, is a good thing to start leaning on.
Absolutely. And, we talk a lot about science in your backyard, climate in your backyard, and how that local context really is so important. And we have so many great resources. The flip of that is that it allows us, people who are in the sciences, who are passionate about science, who are passionate to share what we're learning, all of this incredible knowledge with students, as you said, from K to gray, you know, having the opportunity to build those relationships that helps build back trust in science, which is something that we're really focused on, at NCSE and of course at other organizations, is rebuilding that trust in science. So I love the fact that you all are so engaged in the communities, because I know just from conversations you and I had, you all have tons of partnership schools across the state of Florida that you're impacting on a regular basis.
Yeah, we work really, really closely with a lot of our local schools, a lot of our local school districts. That's part of what went into building the MOTC programming, spending about a year working with principals, teachers, curriculum leads, and figuring out where the students are at, what their interests are, what their understanding of science generally is, sort of what they need going forward, and building around that. So those partnerships are incredibly valuable to us. Understanding those relationships and where we can benefit each other in the future is really part of our mission at Mode Education.
You've shared with us so much about the work that you're doing and all of the incredible work at Moat Sea and the Moat Marine Laboratories. Is there anything else you would like our supporters to know about you and the work that you're all doing at Moat?
No, just I encourage everybody to check out Moat C. I think it's a really awesome framework for sharing science education and doing it in a really community driven way, and a way that's hopefully going to prove to get the community engaged in the way that we hope.
Kristen, I cannot thank you enough for joining us today and for the incredible partnership we get to share between NCSE and Moat C.
Thank you so much for having me. It was great to chat with you.
For everyone joining us, I want to thank you for sitting down with us for random samples in our conversation with Dr. Kristen Ranges. I hope it sparked your curiosity and inspired you to learn more about the critical work that's being done to ensure quality science education for all students. To learn more about the National Center for Science Education and how you can get involved, visit us at ncse.ngo. It really is support from viewers like you that make our work possible. If you enjoyed this particular episode, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out. Hit that like button and share it with others who care about science and science education. Just remember, we're all in this together to build a future where scientific literacy and accurate science education are accessible to everyone. Thank you again for joining us, and we'll see you next time on Random Sample.